I'm Charlie Ellison. I am a board member and I'm the zoning committee chair of the Point Breeze Community Development Corporation. I would say we are one of the most diverse neighborhoods in Philadelphia. We're a rapidly growing neighborhood, but we're also a neighborhood with a lot of history. And I think one of the strengths of Point Breeze is that we bring so much diversity to the table compared to other neighborhoods. And we also bring a smart growth that maybe other neighborhoods missed out on when they were growing. And we can provide some good lessons learned for our sister neighborhoods as they start to grow, because I think Philly itself is growing. Gentrification is the process of development in a community. I think it's partly residential development. I think it's partly commercial development. I think it's partly a change in the ecosystem of the community, a change in the nature of businesses. I think you see gentrification happen most in historically poor, more underserved communities. Property values are cheap. Younger, newer residents move in, most of whom might be transient. Because of simple economics, they rapidly change the fabric of the community, and older residents feel disaffected and may actually be disaffected because of it. I think that sort of sums up my thoughts on gentrification.
So we're starting to attract some businesses, some investment. You're starting to see more businesses putting out planters and taking a little bit better care of their facades. And if you came down here and you looked around, you probably think this doesn't look like much now, but if you would have been here 6 years ago, it's changed a lot. So our neighborhood's starting to take off. Our neighborhood is kind of, you could say it's kind of three different, even though we're Tasker to Wolf, there's kind of three basic demographics. Kind of toward Tasker, it's more of a traditional African-American neighborhood. Then it quickly becomes a lot of Asian immigrants who have moved in to the area between, say, Moore and Passyunk, but also a lot of new hipsters and others. It's a real eclectic mix in the middle. And then, like I said, south of Snyder, it's more of a traditional kind of Italian-American community. But it's really starting to change with a lot of new people coming in. And with new people coming in, middle-class folks, disposable incomes, it's starting to have an effect on the commercial quarters. It's starting to generate demand for services. And so that these new people coming in will have an impact on the two commercial quarters.
The younger residents who grew up in Point Breeze have already had kids and moved out to the suburbs, and it's sort of a trend that you see in Philadelphia in general. So it's hard to say whether or not it's because of growth or simply because you just had your second or third kid and are moving out to the suburbs. We see a lot of newer homeowners too, younger residents who move in, buy a house or live in our neighborhood for a few years renting, and then they too have a kid or two and they move out to the suburbs as well for a bigger property. So I don't know how the stats would compare of young, lifelong residents who grew up in our communities moving out. I think they'd be very similar to young residents who buy a property or who rent in our community and also move out simply because they're having kids or more kids. And the same thing goes to say with some of our really old residents who retire and their house is paid off. They don't like winter, so they retire and move to Florida and move somewhere else. So it's inevitable that as a neighborhood grows and more density increases, and taxes go up, there's an incentive for property owners who rent their properties to charge more money to renters. So that pushes out some renters. I don't really think there's much of an incentive for long-term homeowners to be pushed out and to sell their homes. I think it's sort of a natural thing that people might move into retirement communities, retire elsewhere, retire abroad, or otherwise sell their properties to fund their retirements, and maybe they move in a rental place so they don't have to maintain this 3-bedroom house anymore when all of their kids are grown and their grandkids are growing up and they don't really have the need for 3 bedrooms or a need to go up 3 flights of stairs in their own home.
Now what happens with gentrification, the city becomes more homogenous, well-educated young people, disposable incomes are not so different, in University City as they are in South Philly. So the city loses some of that unique identity in terms of neighborhoods. But what it does do that's so important is it basically it allows the tax base of the city to strengthen and expand. And if you don't have that, it's a slippery slope for cities to go downhill.